Hello, Ryan. How are you today? Hello, Ryan. How are you today? Hello, everybody. We'll get started shortly at around 8 p.m. Welcome to class today. How was everybody's week? Is everybody doing good today? And if you're just joining us, we'll get started in about 5 minutes or so at 8 p.m. Hey, everybody. How's everybody doing today? Hey, Shesk is back. I was actually going to, if you weren't going to make it this time, I was actually going to message you on Facebook and ask you where you were, but it's great to have you back with us again. Hopefully, Rich is here tonight. So, Shesk, you missed an interesting lesson last time. The video for that will be posted in about next Friday. So next Friday's video will be what we talked about last time, which is kind of a community spotlight kind of thing where I asked everybody, what inspired them to learn piano and, what brought them to the channel and why they learn how to play. So check that out. We'll do another one of those at some point, of course. Wow, that W is even worse. There you go. So how you doing, Shesk? What have you been up to? Well, I've been crazy busy. I've been driving between 4 of our sites in Sweden, Denmark, Norway, Sweden again, a total of 3797 kilometers. We are being audited by one of our largest clients for security and safety. Wow, sounds like a quite a busy quite a busy experience. Yeah, I figured you were busy doing something because I remember you said something about it, but I couldn't like quite remember what it was. So that's what it was. Wow. How's everybody else doing? Is anybody else in the chat? We will get started. Oh, like right now, I guess, pretty soon. I'll give you another minute to just say hello while I kind of think about where to start with this video. Let's see. Whoops. Sup? Sup, Jaga? How's it going? I don't know how many ladies are in here, but how are you doing? I missed that lesson. Explain why I'm interested in playing piano. Listen to other stories. So we'll get your perspective in here some other time or at some point, and yeah, you will get the recording of that lesson. So we will get started here on the circle of fifths here in just a second. Okay, let me think. Hello, students. Your piano teacher here. Well, let me think about this again because I'm doing it a little bit different than before. Piano teacher Tim here again at the Circle of Fifths. So today I'm going to explain what the Circle of Fifths is, although even saying that, I will teach you a special technique at the end of the lesson or towards the end where you can know your key signatures without even looking at the Circle of Fifths. Let me try that one more time. Hey there students, piano teacher Tim here again, and we are in front of the Circle of Fifths today, so I'm going to explain what the Circle of Fifths is all about. But before I start on that, the most important thing to remember is that the Circle of Fifths is really a visual tool if you don't know your key signatures. What I'm going to teach you today is how to know your key signatures by heart, so you no longer need to look at the Circle of Fifths. But even saying that, or that being said, let's talk about how to look at a circle of fifths and understand what it's talking about. So like I said, the circle of fifths is a visual tool. It tells you all of the major and minor key names along with sharps or flat they have, and also what sharps or flat they have. Remember that a key tells you what notes are sharp or flat within a song, an example, a scale, or something like that. Not only does it tell you that, it also tells you what the tonal center is. So the thing is if we're in C major, you play a C major scale. The scale is based around C. It starts on C, ends on C. If you have a song in C major, it doesn't have to begin and end on C all the time. But for the most part, the notes are centered around C or D or whatever key you happen to be in. So I'm going to teach you how to read the circle of fifths now. So this is how it works. So you can see it here. we have, it says major keys, right? And it says C, and then going to the right, you have G, D, A, E, B, and then it starts listing two of them. There's one key on the inside. As you can see, it correlates to this key right here. So B is right there. C flat is on the outside. So just to save space, they kind of do that and overlap. Well, also because these keys are equivalents as well, to be exact. So anyway, you go further to the right. Now I guess heading over to the left, you have F sharp in the bottom middle, and then D flat, A flat, E flat, B flat, and F. Going around in the major keys, going from 0 sharps and flats, to 1 sharp, 2 sharps, 3 sharps, and so forth. If you go on the inside little circle, you have your minor keys all the way around again. So basically what you do is you say, all right, what key am I in? Well, you want to ask yourself how many sharps or flats, right? So if you have 0 sharps, 0 flats, you go there where there's nothing written, and then you say, okay, it's either C major or A minor. Remember that every key has a major and minor equivalent to it. So 0 sharps, 0 flats has C and A. If you go over to 1 sharp, you're going to have G major, and also E minor has 1 sharp as well. And then if you look at the note that is sharped, for that first sharp, if you had a note right there, that would be F, right? So that's telling you every F in the entire piece or song, unless they tell you otherwise, is going to be sharped. So how about we do this? You can also do it the other way around. Say somebody says, let's play in the key of A flat. Well, what do? Well, if you have the circle of fifths in front of you, you go to where it says A flat, and then you just go to the key signature designated for that little square on the circle, and that tells you that A flat has 1, 2, 3, 4 flats, and these flats are B, E, A, and D. Now I'm going to teach you more about how to do that. I mean, you can just kind of read what notes they would be if they were on those parts of the staff. Okay, let's just try a few examples before we move on. So let's say somebody says, here's a song, we're going to play it in F sharp. What do? Well, if you have a circle of fifths in front of you again, you go to where it says F sharp, and remember that if F sharp is on the inner side of the circle, it's going to be on the inner side of the next outer part of the circle. So if it says F sharp, it's really corresponding to this one right here, and it has 6 sharps, F, C, G, D, A, and E. So that's how you read the circle of fifths. It works the exact same way if you're doing the minor keys. You're just going to be looking at the inner side of the circle. For instance, if you have B minor, you go to that part of the circle, and then you go outside, and it has 2 sharps, F sharp and C sharp, the same as D major. So the next part I'm going to explain why it's called the circle of fifths. Okay, now to explain why it's called the circle of fifths. Let me try that again. 1 second. Now to explain why it's called the circle of fifths, why it gets its name. So if you remember from the circle of fifths, there'll be something up above to show you that the key of C had 0 sharps and 0 flats. And the next key with 1 sharp was G. And then going around the circle, the next one's D. The next one's A. The next one's E. Well, hey, there's a pattern of how these go, these relationships between these keys go up from one another. You have C major, right? You have 8 notes in C major. Going from C to G, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is 5 notes. Well, what is 5 notes up the C major scale? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is G, right? Well, hey, That's the next one in our circle of fifths. G had 1 sharp, F sharp. The next key with 2 sharps, and this is a little trick you can use as well to know your key signatures, you go up 5 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the one with 2 sharps is D major. What's the one with 3 sharps? Well, you go up 5 in the D major scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And hey, A had 3 sharps. So it's called the circle of fifths literally because the relationship between each of the keys is up a fifth. The same thing goes with the minor keys, except that you start on A first. So A is the first one. You go up 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. E is the next minor key with 1 sharp. You go up 5 again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, and hey, and B is the next one with 2 sharps. Now, as you keep going, you have to be really careful. So say we are at B minor, right? The one we just talked about with 2 sharps. Now, you have to be careful because when you go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you have to be careful because it's actually going to be F sharp instead of regular B. Well, now, why is that? Well, it's because it has to be what's called a perfect fifth. So you can make sure it's a perfect fifth by doing this. The distance between this note and this note in half steps, or what we call semitones, is, which is counting every note in between, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if you count up 7 semitones, not including the note you just played, you will get to the correct key every time. So that's where the name circle of fifths comes in. Alright, everybody, just moving screens here. Okay, so next we're going to talk about how this can help you as a music student. Oh, wait, I'm blocking me. Hold on. Oh, you know what? I'm going to do it in post. That'll be easier. Rather than having to draw everything, I'll just flash it up on the screen later. So now we're going to talk about how the circle of fifths can help you as a music student. Why learn the circle of fifths and why learn the secret technique on getting around the circle of fifths and knowing your key signatures. So basically it boils down to why know your key signatures. Well, you have to understand your keys because that's really the layout like I talked about earlier. You know, keys tell you what notes are sharp or flat in a song or example. But it also tells you what the tonal center is. So by understanding your keys and what notes they have sharp or flat, you really have a much better idea on the music you're playing. You'll have a much better idea on the music you compose. You'll be able to do actually quite a few different things with it, which we'll talk about here in a second. Hold on. And one of those other things is how to improvise, right? So if you're improvising in the key of C, like that, just a short little example there, nothing special. I was able to do that because I know that the key of C starts on C, and I know what chords are associated with that. I know that I'm not going to be running into any sharps or flats, so I have a good understanding on the key of C. So if somebody said, let's play something in the key of G, well, and I had to improvise there, I could go here. By knowing the key of G, I knew that there was an F sharp there, so I could play the key properly, because if you don't have the correct sharps or flats, and you're not starting on the right, what we call tonal center, your song is not going to sound correct. And like I said, just knowing your keys gives you a much better understanding on how music works. I've mentioned it a few times in this lesson already. If somebody tells you to play in a key, well, why would they do that? If you're in a band, right? So if you're playing in a band, knowing your keys and your key signatures is essential, because a lot of times in a band, somebody will say, all right, well, let's write a song together, or let's play a song, and it's going to be in the key of A minor. So you have to know, right, the key of A minor or E minor, whichever one they're talking about. Wait, hold on. Kind of messed that up. And one of the things I've mentioned in this lesson a bunch of times already is it helps you play with other people. So if somebody in a band you're playing with says, let's play something in the key of E, you'll know exactly what they're talking about. Of course, you would want to ask either E major or E minor because they're both different. But, if something is in the key of E major, you'll know what notes to play and where to play them, and you'll be a much valued band member. Okay, so here's the breakdown of learning your keys. This is the shortcut that I alluded to in the beginning of the lesson that will get you understanding the circle of fifths, get you understanding your keys in a very short time. It does take a little bit of thinking to get through, but here it goes. The first step to getting this right is you have to memorize what they call the order sharps, which is F, C, G, D, A, E, and B. And then you have to memorize your order of flats, which is B, E, A, D, G, C, and F. So F, C, G, D, A, E, B is what we call the order of sharps. The order of flats is B, E, A, D, G, C, F. Now, how are these two related? Well, think about it and pause the video if you need to think about it. But they are inverses of each other. So if you have F, C, G, D, A, E, B, and you flip it around backwards and say it backwards, it's B, E, A, D, G, C, F. So they're in reverse of one another. Now, just like when you're learning how to read music, I suggest you come up with some kind of saying to memorize these, like especially the F, C, G, D, A, E, B, because, it could be hard to remember. If you're having trouble remembering it, come up with a sentence, like with the first letter of each word going along with one of these letters. So maybe like fat. Somebody told me one time, fat children gather daily at every basketball game. So F, C, G, D, A, E, B, and that's how they remember. They were a younger student. And then for me, bead, GCF spells bead, and then GCF is like greatest common factor if you've taken mathematics. I think you learn that fairly early on, but there could be some viewers that aren't familiar with that. So you may want to come up with a saying of your own to memorize these. So what I want to know is try to come up with a saying of your own, and I want to hear about it and see it in the comments so we can really share it together, because I don't really have any for these because I know them so well. So if you could come up with some really good ones, I would love to hear them. Okay, hold on a second. Okay, so now we have the circle of fifths back out in front of us, and I'm going to teach you how to use our order of sharps, which I wrote right here, and our order of flats, which I wrote right below it right here, on how to figure these key signatures out. So I want to tell you first what the order of sharps actually means. The order of sharps is the order in which you add your sharps. So what do I mean by that? Well, say we have one sharp. What you do is you go to your first one in your order of sharps, and what note is that? That's F, right? Well, take a look here at the picture we have. If you go to one sharp, the key with one sharp, the sharp it has is F. So the order of sharps, like I said, tells you the order in which you add them. Going to two sharps, you actually have the first one, and then you have the one before it plus a new one. So you have F now and C. So if you go to the one with two sharps, sure enough, it has those two sharps, F sharp and C sharp. If you have the one with three sharps, it now has F sharp, C sharp, and G sharp because you're adding them, in the order of the sharps. If you had the one with all seven sharps, the seven sharps that song or example would have, that key has, is F, C, G, D, A, E, B. And those are the order in which you add them. The flats work the same way pretty much. And by the way, the flats go the opposite direction. They go around to the left. If you want to go in the sharps, you go to the right. Flats are to the left. So now we have the one with one flat. So you're going to go to your order of flats and say, okay, which one do we have? Well, that one's going to be B, right? Well, take a look at the key signature with one flat. It has a B flat. If you have the one with two flats, you have the one before plus a new one. So now we have B flat and E flat. And then if you had the one with all flats, it would be the entire thing. B, E, A, D, G, C, F. So now that I've explained the order sharps and the order flats, I'm going to tell you how to use these to figure out the key name. One thing I want to tell you is that the key name is often, not all the time, but often different than what notes are sharped or flat in that key. So for instance, the key of D doesn't have a D sharp in it. It has a regular D in it. Actually, the two sharps are different, F sharp and C sharp. So that's one thing you really want to get through your mind, is that the name of the key is different from the sharps and flats in that key themselves, except sometimes, like the key of A flat actually has an A flat in it. So here we go. The method is different for the sharps and the flats. Here is the method for the sharps. The method for the sharps is you go to whatever note that is all the way to the right in your order of sharps, depending on how many sharps you have. So say you have just one sharp, right? Well, what sharp do we have? Well, if we go to the first one in the order of sharps, it's going to be F sharp. So you go to F and you play F sharp. Now there's a second step to this. So remember, first step is play the sharp all the way to the right. And then what you need to do is go up a half step. And that gives you your answer every time. Now this is, remember, for the key name. This isn't telling you what notes are sharp or flat. That's what the order of sharps is for. So this is the key of G. And the key of G, if we refer to the circle of fifths, has one sharp, happens to be F sharp. So let's do a few more. Say you have the one with three sharps. So now we have F, C, and G. So we wrote our number 3. Now you want to go to G sharp, the very one all the way to the right. What do? What's the second step for the sharps? Is go up a half step. So again, you go to how many sharps you have, the very last one you say in your order of sharps. You play that note as a sharp, and you go up a half step, and that gives you the name of the key that you're in. It also gives you the tonal center, the same kind of thing. one more for the sharps. Say we have a key with 5 sharps, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So F, C, G, D, A, right? A is our very last sharp. You go to A sharp, and you go up a half step, and that tells you that you're in the key of B, and the 5 sharps in that key are F, C, G, D, and A. Just like that. I lied. There's one more we're going to do. This really applies to the last 2 in the list, but if you say we have all sharps, you're going to go to the last one. So we're just going to go to B sharp, right? So you play, careful now, this is why I'm bringing this up, that if you have B sharp, where is B sharp? B sharp is really C, because, on the piano, there is no half step between B and C. So you play C sharp, and you go up a half step. You go B to B sharp, go up a half step. And it actually brings you to C sharp. So C sharp, it's not C, it's C sharp, has all 7 sharps, F, C, G, D, A, E, and B. Okay, now we're going to do the flats. The method is different for the flats, but kind of similar. Now, the one thing I want to tell you about the flats straight out is that you have to memorize that the key with 1 flat is F. You just have to memorize it because the trick does not work. It works for all of them but the first one, and you'll see why. So what we're going to do for this one is say we have the one with 2 flats. Well, the 2 flats we're going to have, right, are B and E. B and E, right? What you want to do this time is instead of going to the very last one, you're going to go to the one right before the last one. So remember, E is our last one. Going to the one right to the left of that is actually going to be B. And now what you do now is that you play B flat, since we're talking about flats, and there's no next step. That's your answer. B flat is the name of the key. Now, let's say we have 4 flats. Well, they would be B, E, A, and D, right? Well, here's the next step. You go to the one all the way, the last one you said, which is D. But then you go to the one right to the left. So you go to the one next to the last one of the one you said this time. You go there. See how it says A? Well, we're talking about flats, right? So to play A flat. And then, what's your next step? Well, there is none. That's it. A flat is your answer, and the 4 flats that exist in A flat are B, E, A, and D, all the ones we just went through. Now, last one, say we have all 7 flats. So you have B, E, A, D, G, C, and F. What's the next to last one? Well, the next to last one is C, right? So what you have to do is you have to play not C, but C flat, because we're talking about flats. Remember that even though you're reading the letter, so say you had D, you're really playing D flat, if we're talking about flats. So you go to C flat, and now what's your next step? Nothing. So the key is C flat, and we can check it down here, right here. The key is C flat actually has all 7 flats, B, E, A, D, G, C, and F. So just as a little review, remember the order of sharps tells you, and the order of flats tells you what notes are flat within that key. It doesn't mean that's the name of the key. You have to use the technique to figure out the name of the key. So remember one more time for sharps is you go to the very last sharp you had. So if you have 3 sharps, and it's the order of sharps, F, C, and G, you go to G sharp, the very last one, and the next step is to go up a half step, and that's your answer. The key of A has 3 sharps. And remember for flats, you say how many flats you have. So say you have 4 flats. That would be the first 4 in the order of flats B, E, A, and D. You say D flat, you play D flat, and that's your answer, the key of D flat. Or no, the one with 4 flats would be A flat. Sorry, B, E, A, and D, because you would go to the next to last one. I did the one with the sharps again. So you go to the one to the next to last one. Okay, everybody, we're going to do a quiz time. I'm going to film another quiz time for the final video, but we're going to do one today. I'm going to pick out 3 questions to make sure you understand the circle of fifths. So the first question is, why is it called the circle of fifths? So I'll let you answer in the comments, even if it is just Shesk and maybe somebody else. Okay, Shesk says, I must be an idiot because I don't understand the whole point of the key of X. Why not just write a song with the notes you should play? Why write a song using some notes, then tell? Why not just write a song with notes you should play? Why write a song using some notes and then tell the player to play some different keys? You mean, why do you have keys at all? Like, why don't you just write the accidentals as they appear? Is that what you're asking? I know the partial answer to that question is I mentioned earlier about the tonal center. So remember that a key not only tells you what notes are sharp or flat in a song, they also tell you about the tonal center. Now, the tonal center tells you a lot of things. It tells you what chords are going to be the primary chords in that key, because obviously if you are in the key of G, one of your most important keys is G major. One of your most important chords, rather, is G major, and then obviously C major and D major. So knowing what the tonal center is really helps set up the chords and the notes around it to kind of be around a certain key. Otherwise, it would sound kind of lost. So does that make sense? Because I don't know the 100% answer, but that's what I'm going with. Because if you just say you had 3 sharps and you just wrote the sharps wherever they were, I mean, yeah, you could look at it and find the tonal center, but I'd imagine maybe originally, because you could still have the tonal center and write out the key signature, or like write out the sharps or flats in there. So I'd imagine they did it to save space. Because if you think about it, we didn't have technology. Well, we had technology back then, but not like we do today, where I can just place a sharp wherever I want really quick. It was really all written by hand. So if you think about it, if you're writing it out by hand and you had 3 sharps that were sharp throughout the whole entire piece, right? Well, it'd be a pain to write out every sharp as they occurred. It'd be a lot easier to just in the beginning write F, C, and G. That is the best answer I can come up with. I actually think it's probably on point. Yeah, it is so you know what key to play the song in. So keys make it easier for people to communicate what the framework is of the songs that they're playing. So if they say, all right, this song's going to be in the key of A, well, you as a good music student will know, okay, well, that's telling me there's 3 sharps, F, C, and G. That's another reason, because if you didn't have key names, then, I mean, you could say there's F sharp, C sharp, and G sharp, but I think it's just a lot more succinct to say the key of A. Yeah, thanks, Shesk. I had to think about that one for a second. I was like, well, wait a second. Why don't they just do that? And I really believe it's when they used to write it out by hand. It would take a million times longer to write out, 5,000 sharps than it would just be to have 3 sharps in the beginning. And now you're back tonight, and Rich isn't here. That's crazy. It's like you're the same person, except that you guys have been in the stream a million times already. So, anybody have any questions about this? Oh, I have more questions. Why is it called the circle of fifths? That's the original question. Thanks, Shesk. And thank you, whoever commented in the beginning. I saw your very nice comment, and I was really happy about it. Jaga, that's what it is. Yeah, good, Shesk. Alright, these, let's see if we can pick your brain some more, Shesk. Question 2 is, name one of the reasons that the circle of fifths can help you as a music student. It's faster to see the keys rather than having to memorize them all. Well, it is, but you remember I said earlier in the lesson you should memorize them all. Although you can use my little trick. So that brings us to question number 3. What is the trick for figuring out the key, like if you're in a sharp key, what key that you're in? Remember that first you have to go so far in your order of sharps. So say I have 3 sharps, right? And the first 3 in our order of sharps are what? F, C, and G. Right here. Which of those do we look at? We look at one of them. And actually we play it as a sharp. So which one do we go to? Yeah, so know what key and play the song. It says Paula. Great to have you with us, Paula, by the way. And I know where the sharps and flats should be played. Terrific. Great answer. That's a great answer. So again, with the sharps, say we have 3 sharps. This is like the key to figuring out the sharps. You go to one of the sharps. Which one? Is it the first one? Is it the last one? Which sharp do we have to go to? Go to the last, go 1 half note up, and then play that. Yeah, play that note. You don't necessarily, it's not always a sharp. So say you have 4 sharps, F, C, G, and D. You play D sharp, and then you go up a half step. So you do sharp it. That is true. So you got that right. Good. What is the key to understanding the flats? So say we have 2 flats, B and E. Which one of those am I going to look at to find the answer? You're welcome, Paula. I'm really glad I could help you as well. Welcome to the community. We have these live streams most, now I do take a week off here or there, but most Fridays and most Sundays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So 41 minutes ago, wherever you are in the world, from right now is when we usually start, and I would love to have you out for more of these. I'm really glad to help you out with this channel. It's just as, I think, rewarding for me as it is for others. Although I don't know. I mean, if I could hear everybody's story, that would be amazing. But I get a lot out of the channel is really what I'm trying to say. So thank you for attending. And you're quite welcome, by the way, as well. Okay, so for the flats, remember the question was, how do I figure out the name of the key that I'm in for a flat key signature? Okay, so it's not necessarily the first. Remember that you go to the next to last flat, and that's it. I mean, you play the flat version of that. So say you have two flats, B and E, right, in your order of flats. Those are the two flats you have. What is the key name? Well, you go to the last one, which is E. Go to the one right to the left of that, which is B, and B flat is your answer. So you just turn it into a flat, and you're done. It was something really simple. So did you guys check out, you guys and girls, check out my new video that came out today? It was about arpeggios and how to play those on the piano. I gave some really good practice tips also as well to develop, you know, good arpeggio playing ability. So check that out after this is done if you have not seen it already. Oh, that's alright, Chesk. I know you will watch it when you get a chance. I don't think you were there for that live stream either, so that's probably a good one to watch. Oh, you just came home, so I'm really glad you were able to make it out tonight. Because otherwise, it would have just been, you know, me and a couple of others. Me and Paula. So, if you want to... Where is it? So if you go to the Lessons on the Web community page... So Lessons on the Web / community is where it's at. You will find the calendar for all of the things that we are doing. And one thing I want to tell both of you or anybody else who is here right now is that on the 31st I won't be able to make it, so I'll have to cancel that one. Just a heads up, I haven't canceled it here on the calendar yet. So the one on the 31st is canceled. What is a chord progression? So that one I may move back at some point, but in the future we're going to talk about how scales work. I don't know if I'm going to review all the major scales or whether it's going to be a scales tips video, because I feel like I've covered pretty much all the scales already in earlier videos. And then a really good one for August 5th is how to not give up on playing piano, and also a guide on how to deal with frustration while learning piano so you continue your efforts into the future and you don't get so frustrated with it that it becomes a thing of the past, because we don't really want that. And then we're on August 7th, that Sunday, we're going to do how to sit at the piano. So I'm going to get a slightly different camera viewpoint in here to show you how to do that. That might be a shorter one because there's only so many things. Talk about it. We're on break for August 7th. And then after that, I still need to flesh out and think about the topics, but I have pretty good ideas on what I'm going to do. So from right now on, I think the direction we're going to go is tips for beginners. So I feel like a lot of us that attend the streams are not very advanced. We might be anywhere from just beginning to maybe be able to play some simple songs. That's still relatively within the realm of beginners. So what I'm going to do is, instead of doing like lessons on chords, I think I've done most of those already anyways. I'm going to do like tips videos and then show you on the piano how those apply to your practicing and things like that. So there'll still be a very strong piano aspect to them, but it's really going to be like, videos like 5 things to make sure you get the best start learning music. Just things that I wish I knew maybe when I started. Probably the top 5 things that you have to keep after to become a successful piano student. And then I may do videos like, 3 things you want to avoid while doing this or that. So I think those will be really helpful and give people another side to the beginner's, perspective. I will watch it. I never miss any of your videos. Thank you, Shesk. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Paula. I'm glad you think that is a good idea. So a lot more lessons geared towards beginners on the way, because I think a lot of us, like I said, are in that area. Because especially when I'm teaching online, you kind of assume people go from the very beginning and they move straight forward into success, and that's real life really isn't like that. You have your things that you come across that kind of get in your way. Like, that's why one of the further lessons down the line is how to not give up on piano playing, because I think that's really an important thing that beginners need to keep a track of so they can be successful at playing piano. So things just outside of the scales and all the things we talked about tonight. Although I will continue to do these lessons from time to time. You also said, I will watch it. They're very challenging for me, but I just started playing a little over a year ago. Good. Very excellent to hear. I do practice a bit every day, and I'm having to learn to read music too. So there's lots of videos on the channel about reading music if you have not seen them already. And you are 57. Great to have you with us and have you learning piano. Even at that age. I've had people learn even into their 60s, 70s, or even 80s. I had a student that was 84 one time, and she did surprisingly well. So I think at any age you can learn piano. So I think it's terrific that you're learning piano. Thank you, Paula. Thank you. Very great. I didn't realize you were such a fan. I think this is the first time seeing you. So like I said, it's just very great to have you out. I always love seeing new names and returning names, of course. Like good old Shesk here. I missed him last week. He was gone all week. I think you missed both of them last week, which I thought was really odd. But I did remember, like I said, that you said you had something going on. And now Rich is gone and Manny is gone, so we need to get them back into the fray. But of course, you don't need to make every single live stream. I'm just kidding around. All right, everybody. So that's really all I had for tonight. So I'm going to just kind of wrap it up by telling you to, every little thing you can do is very helpful for me and my mission with Lessons on the Web and our learning together. So some things you can do that don't cost you any money are be a part of the community. So just by showing up by the live stream, you get massive points for that. That helps a ton. Like I said, you don't have to come to every live stream. Don't feel like you have to, but I would love to have you back. And like the videos. I mean, that does help to a degree because that is engagement, but comments are also very important as well to the thriving community. If you see something in a video you have a question about, or you really want to share your experiences with others, please leave a comment in that video because it really helps us all learn together. That's really the main focus here, is so we can become, like, I can become a better teacher that way, and you can become better students by sharing. So that's always a great way to do that. And then, of course, if you're ever interested in learning way more about piano than even what's on the YouTube channel, I even have lessons for beginners there. But on my website, lessonsontheweb.com, I have a whole music academy. I have a ton of courses there that you can take so you can get even better at music, even beyond, far beyond what's on the YouTube. But there will, of course, be YouTube videos still coming out. So there's something for everybody. I've been gone for 12 days. I had to fly. Ooh, man. What I need to practice more is to play with both hands. When I play with right hand, I screw up the left hand, especially if one hand plays fast and the others play slow. So keep up with the hand-in exercises that we've talked about. So you just type in hand-in exercises to Google. You'll be able to find out where they are. We talked about them a bunch. But I'm just letting Paula know. So look up hand-in exercises. There are exercises that, of course, you may want to do slowly, where you can really practice hand coordination and things like that. And then, of course, learning your scales. And like we talked about before, arpeggios are also good. Oh, she has the Hannah book. Oh, terrific. So you've been watching all my videos then. Awesome. I'm glad you picked up that book. It's very, very helpful. Okay, Paula and Shesk, I think I'm going to call it a night. If you have any last minute comments or questions, I'll stick around for another minute or two. If not, have a great week. Great to have both of you with us today and anybody else who may be watching. So as you can really expect from what's been going on with the channel lately, we had this lesson today. In a week, maybe 2 weeks, you're going to see a cut together version with it, with me adding a couple of things here and there describing what's happening to make it a little bit more interactive, and then we'll go for there, and I'll see you hopefully I'll see you both at some point in the future live stream. So it's great to have you both with us, and have a great week. Thank you, Paula. Bye-bye, Shesk. Oh, Shesk is still here. For example, if I alternate between two notes, my left hand half notes, and my right hand plays quarter notes, my left hand suddenly goes quarter notes as well. Ooh. I'll tell you what, bring that up again in one of the next live stream, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, because that's something I'd have to explain on the piano a little bit on how to develop. I recommend getting the, what is it called, Alfred's Adult Series, the book for that. or just finding some easy songs to play online that have what you're talking about, where you have different note durations in each hand. But I can give you some additional tips for those as well, Shesk. Thank you, Shesk. Have a great night, everybody. All right, Tim out.